Yeah.
Hey there. Hello.
You're about to get fed.
Hey, I hear you're gonna get fed. Turns out Mimi's gonna get fed too. We're feeding Mimi today.
Are you happy for me, Napoleon?
Is Napoleon named after Napoleon Dynamite?
No, he's named after Napoleon from Animal Farm. The dictator pig. Napoleon is fully like a spoiled, we raised him from a baby, like he lived inside for a little while, just absolute spoiled pig. And Stanley's like our like rough and tumble, like he doesn't need affection. He's just like, whatever, give me food, I'll figure it out. Because they just they found him in the woods and they called around to be like, did anybody lose a pig? And nobody claimed him.
Wow.
So in the freezer we have an abundance of frozen bananas. We have some like half-used frozen food items. Oh, here.
This coffee ice cubes?
This isn't. These are the vegan sausages.
Impossible sausages.
Yes, the bratwurst, I think they are,
Whoa.
which are really good with mustard. Have you ever had them with? The best way to have them is with pretzel buns and like spicy mustard. It's like bomb. But yeah, you can use those. And that's a bag
Speaking my
of rice
language.
cauliflower that my ex gave me right after we broke up. So, have
Looks
at it.
very frozen and not something we should unfreeze today.
I'm just gonna keep that there. And then we have all of this.
Pantry.
There are no doors because we have an open concept kitchen. We just want to live fully exposed
Love it.
and open. You can basically use all of this, maybe just stay away from this half of this shelf and this half of this shelf, but then like all of that is
Spices,
fair.
spices.
Mm-hmm.
All the spices.
Yes, because taking someone else's leftovers is not taking leftovers, it's just being rude.
All right, so now we have a pretty good look at our inventory, our stock, what we're working with. I think I'm gonna start digging in.
So Jordan, what goes through the mind of like a leftover chef? Like as you're handling all the ingredients, like are you like trying to formulate ideas?
I kind of just look at stuff and say, yes, that makes sense.
As a vegan, is your goal to make a vegan dish, if possible?
My goal is to not use any unnecessary milk, meat, or cheese. I will use meats and cheeses if I get to that point in an episode in which there aren't enough options.
Okay.
But you actually have a lot of
I
non-dairy
do
options.
have a lot of options.
So I'm rating a good fridge.
Yeah.
A good ass fridge.
This one gets the leftover chef stamp of approval.
Down with carrots. Down with carrots.
Yeah, I'm down with carrots.
We were ordered by Mimi to get rid of the carrots, so I'm going to be getting rid of the carrots today. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I dislike carrots. Camera woman Reena, she loves carrots, so I'm happy that I can make her carrots. And we'll also get rid of Mimi's carrots. And Brendan feels how about carrots?
I eat everything. I like carrots enough.
Brendan is a garbage can.
I am a
Put whatever you want in.
Hey, Mimi, can you talk to us about the whole gravy v sauce conversation and debate that goes on?
There's no conversation.
What's your
Gravy is what Italian Americans call sauce, which is the correct term. My family is fresh off the boat, so we call it sauce. I didn't even know that other Italians call it gravy until like I was an adult. That's like I want to say it's primarily Brooklyn Italians, but I think it's generally like Italian Americans, which like go for it. I just will not call it that. And it's just not gonna happen.
Where fresh off the boat is your family from?
So my grandparents are from Sicily, from a very tiny little town in Sicily. And then they immigrated to Argentina, where my dad was born and raised. And Argentina is very similar to the United States in that They killed a lot of the natives, and then Europeans took over. But yeah, so my dad and my uncle were born and raised there, and then they immigrated to the US. That side of the family is fresh off the boat. The other side of the family is very American.
In a significant other, is someone who calls sauce gravy a deal breaker for you?
I wouldn't let that stand in the way of love. It would annoy me, like probably. Like, my ex used to call, he was like from Pennsylvania, and he used to say the city, and he would mean downtown Lancaster, and I would get so mad at him for doing that. I was like, that's not, in no way is that the city. Like, I would have forgiven you for calling Philadelphia the city, but like, that's not real. That's not a real thing.
There's only one the city, and it is Newark.
Newark.
No? Newark! If I can make it there, I'll make it. Anywhere, it's up to you. Newark.
Was that from the famous New Jersey-based musical?
Dank Sinatra. Yeah.
The best moment of my life was when my friend from Australia was talking about she had to fly into the US, and she was like, oh, I have to fly into Newark. And I was like, nope.
It's a biblical city.
I was like, not at all. You're not flying into Newark.
Not that. You gotta go back to where you came from. If you had to pick one food that is like, you'll never ever eat and you hate it more than anything, what food would that be?
Anise.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like the spice that the flavor of black licorice is like based off of.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually use real anise and black licorice anymore, but yeah, can't stand it.
Growing up, who was your favorite person to have cook for you?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
That is a good question. I mean, I feel like the like base answer has to be like my Italian grandmother. She also lived with us for like a decent portion of my life, so that was like there was always like this air of like, ooh, what does Nona have in her kitchen? So that's probably like top all time, but I like my mom's cooking. She like, if you talk to her childhood best friends, they'll be like, ooh, she was cooking. But like, my mom put in work to become pretty decent at cooking, and so she has a pretty diverse skill set because she had to like learn everything. She didn't just wake up one day and know how to cook things.
You respect that she put the time in to get better at the craft.
Yes. And I also appreciate that because of the way she cooks, I cook the way I do, which is I just generally know what kinds of flavors might taste good, and then I throw them together, and sometimes it turns into something really good. So the payoff is really high. The actual process sometimes doesn't pan out, but
So
when it's good, it's really good.
Would you say in cooking then it's not about the journey, but it's definitely about the destination?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
What we're gonna be making today is a little hodgepodge, but it's gonna be centering around this plant-based almond milk cream cheese spread.
Ooh.
There's gonna be some sauce that has some wild raw honey. Whoa, honey cheese sauce, it's happening. It's happening right now. We got ourselves some Impossible sausages. Well, believe it, they're here. It's not that impossible.
Whoa.
And then the aforementioned carrots, they're gonna get sauteed around. They're gonna be the meat of this because there's really not enough noodles for all of us. We're just gonna get rid of the noodles, and the noodles are more of the side dish to the carrots. The carrots are what's really good. And then we're getting a little protein from here. Yummy. From our fake meats. We're also adding in some chia sauce for our seeds.
Yeah.
And then we have seeds right here to add to our cheese sauce. And then we have smoked paprika, ground cumin. black pepper, cayenne, sesame oil, and garlic powder to season our carrots. Looks like it's gonna be a fun time. Keep listening to the fun people while I'm just cooking dinner in the corner. Ha ha ha! Glad I brought you here and made you dinner.
So I have like a couple signature dishes, and one of them is a dessert. And the way that I came across this delicious flavor combo is that do you know the movie Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
I know it, haven't seen it.
Okay, so there's this scene in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants where they're talking to a lady who works at Dairy Queen, and she's talking about experimenting with flavors, and she talks about her favorite flavor that she ever made up was blueberries and pralines. I didn't know what a praline was, but I was like, I'm gonna look into that. And I found this like praline, they looked kind of like pieces, like toffee pieces, but they were meant to be ice cream toppers. So I bought some of those, and I got some blueberry craisins, and I just used the normal like Toll House chocolate chip cookie base, but then instead of putting chocolate chips in, I put these pralines and the blueberry craisins, and it's bomb. Like it's like bonkers how good these things are. The loss is that they no longer make that ice cream topping. Like it is
pralines
nowhere. It's a specific like candy praline like bits. So I've looked everywhere for this thing. I like even reached out to the company to be like, hey, are you ever gonna make this again? And it just did not look hopeful. So I started experimenting with how to make my own. And so I currently have like a recipe for, it's very involved and it's several steps, but it gets the job done. And I would say that it's maybe better. Like the ones that I make have an even better like flavor payoff.
I like to saute carrots because carrots are just like every other vegetable.
Wow. Jordan's so vegetable inclusive.
Yeah, I'm a vegan, so I believe that all vegetables are created equal.
One of our former roommates had this plant, and the only reason I've been able to keep it alive in tandem with my sister is that like it looks dead right now, but I just watered it, and honestly, like by the end of filming this, it might be like up. Like it's just such a resilient plant.
Man, I love carrots.
Do you have a favorite restaurant that you like to eat at?
Ooh.
And if so, what food do you like to eat at that restaurant?
Okay, so I'm gonna focus local. Growing up, we used to go to this restaurant called Pizzarama, and it had the really good pizza, but like their like winning food were their chicken rolls. And we like grew up on that stuff. Like it was everything. And being like, this is how good it was. We're like the Italian, and this place was owned by Albanians, and that did not stop us from being like, this is really good pizza. Like I feel like Italians would like to be like, well, it's not that good, it's Albanian. It's like, you're not Italians. But like, no, they've got it right. They have it real right. And but they moved from the location near us, so now it's only like 40 minutes away, which we have traveled for before.
Good food worth traveling for.
And then the other like go-to childhood, like for me, it's the standard for this area of Chinese and Japanese food. It's called Jumbo, and it's like 3 minutes away. And I personally think that the East Coast has pretty decent Asian food, at least in this area of the East Coast. So I've had a lot of pretty decent Chinese food, and I still think like the place near us is good. It's really good.
Good.
Yes. What about you, Brendan?
Favorite eateries?
Yes.
I'm a little biased, but Tuxedo Sushi is one of my favorite
That's fair.
I work at Tuxedo Sushi.
Tuxedo.
But besides that, you know, I don't. This is probably gonna sound sacrilegious, especially to an Italian. So get ready for a hot take, Italian. But I used to be a big fan of the macaroni grill.
Are we gonna be honest?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never set foot in an Olive Garden. It is not allowed. I've been to a macaroni grill. And I would say that the two like things that are stuck in my memory as, yo, macaroni grill is where it's at, is they put the oil on the table. Like the first thing they do is give you bread and oil with like salt and pepper in it, and that's like so good. Like so simple, so good. That's one of the great things about Italian food is it's really not that complicated, but it's so good. And then you can draw on the table.
That was the hook for me. It's like I am someone who like I get one of those like gimmicks in restaurants.
Yes, yeah. So I can't knock macaroni grill. I have not been there since I was like 6, but.
Well, since we're talking about Italians and Italian food, how important is food to people who are of Italian descent? And also Jordan, I know is Italian, so you can probably talk about this a little bit too.
Jordan, are you Italian?
I am. I'm half Italian, half Jewish.
Ooh, Jews and Italians love each other, honestly.
Yeah, because there's some overlap there.
I guess I think of our generation. I'm sure that there's some conflict somewhere back there, but But as of right now, I feel like we get along pretty well. Yeah. So food is the most important to Italians, and like the quality of food is very important to Italians. My mom, who is not Italian, always talks about like when her and my dad first got married. She was like trying to budget well, and so she went to the supermarket and got like some like, you know, discount cuts of meat and like the generic brands of things. And my dad just looked at her, he was like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm trying to like, you know, be responsible, like not spend too much. And he's like, yeah, we'll cut it somewhere else. Please don't ever do this again. So that has never like, yeah, I've always been raised on like good quality food. And then going even further back, like my grandfather was in Sicily during World War II, and during wars sometimes there is scarcity in food, and especially quality of food. And the way that they talked about it was like you were more inclined to only eat like onions and olive oil rather than eat like trash food. If you want to know some Italian, this is a macchina, and your nonna will use it to smack your butt.
Oh my god.
If you're in trouble.
Is that only what it's used for? Whoa! Jordan's like, Nana, you're here? Oh, since we're filming this during the lead up to Thanksgiving, 2 questions. One, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish to eat? And do you make something for Thanksgiving dinner usually?
Yes. Okay. Probably, I honestly didn't grow up with it, but anytime somebody makes mac and cheese, I'm just like, yes, give me all of it. I will spend all of my stomach space on mac and cheese. And so because of that, I will often make mac and cheese, but this year, my cousin is like set on making the mac and cheese, so I'm making the dairy-free option because I have several people in my family who cannot have dairy, and I want them to share in the joy. And I make like a pretty solid dairy-free mac and cheese. I was raised by a journalist slash my mom used to be the city editor for the Staten Island Advance. So we have a lot of like, you know.
Tell us more about that. What's the Staten Island Advance?
Oh, the Staten Island Advance, if you're from Staten Island, you know the Staten Island Advance. It is the newspaper of Staten Island. And my mom has great stories. So one, she was like one of the first, you know, she was working there in the early mid 80s. So it was still a pretty like male dominated space. And so she answered the phone one day and this lady is like, I want to talk to the editor. And she goes, okay, I'm Sheila Greco, or she was Sheila Chase back then, I'm sorry. This is Sheila Chase, I'm the city editor. And he goes, I said I wanted to talk to an editor, not a tomato. And I was like, what does it even mean? This is a mug that prominently features God because this is a Christian household.
I have no problem with Jesus.
Oh yeah?
I have no problem.
No problem at all.
No problem with Jesus.
He has no problem with you.
You seem like you're a pretty health conscious person, and you have like a lot of things that are like aware and like pretty woke foods. Is there any like health tips or like ingredients or food items that you would know that maybe they're not as aware of as they could be?
I feel like healthy fats are like I will talk about them all day long because as someone who like ever struggled with overeating, I feel like if you do struggle with that, learning how to incorporate a lot of healthy fats into your diet actually helps because in my experience, it helps satiate. So like I've done the keto diet before, which I don't necessarily recommend doing unless you do a lot of research and you're very ready to like track what you eat all the time. But from doing that, and keto is like a very high fat diet, I became very aware of how much more satiated I was when I was very conscious of how much fat I was including in my diet and making sure that it came from like most of my fat would come from like coconut oil or salmon or avocado. So having those things that are like generally they're not bad for you, they're pretty good in other ways other than fat, incorporating those more into my diet just like made me very aware of like how much more I was able to be in touch with my body because the hormones in my brain that usually are like eat more even though I'm like stuffed were just like off. So I like that. I like for my brain and my stomach to be on the same page, and that is often not true, so I feel like fat helps with that.
On the flip side, what are some guilty food pleasures of yours that you know you shouldn't be eating, but you just can't help it sometimes?
Okay. Literally, like, number one thing that I want to eat if I'm eating something that, like, it has no nutritional content that is beneficial to me. So my body is like, I could probably go without a starch or like a super carby things and I would be absolutely fine. I know that there are some people who need to because they have such a fast metabolism that they have to eat a lot of carbs, but I don't. And I also, for the first time in my life, was told that I have to watch my cholesterol. So I extra don't need this, but I freaking love French fries. Eat French fries all day long. And like, so like the extra like guilty pleasure is like French fries with like a Frosty.
Yeah, looks like we're about ready to go. Yeah, we got to turn off the heat, and then I'm gonna plate this. We got some sausages. I added some chia seeds. I'm gonna add some more chia seeds. Screw it. Yeah, screw it.
Chia seeds also like just a great source of omega-3s and fiber.
Fish
like straight
stuff.
fiber and like I think they have some protein.
They're like the same as fish.
Yeah, they're excellent. You've seen any of Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat? Have you seen that?
No, what is
I
that?
was telling Reena to watch that.
It is absolutely charming. Like, just, it made me so aware of how much like the cooking show space is very like male dominated. Not to say there are plenty of women who have shows and whatever, but like a lot of the more artful shows, like, you know, Anthony Bourdain was like is one of the main like travel food guys. And men are very set on making like food very like adventurous and like sexy and like, yeah, like you gotta take this seriously. This is a cutthroat industry or whatever, or like funny, whatever. Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, you learn, number one, so much about food. And number two, it's like, it just like it spoke so much to me and my relationship with food because it's a very like emotional show. Like there are times where she like takes bites of things and she just starts laughing hysterically because it's so good, or she takes bites of things and she's like almost like comes to tears because of how good it is.
Aw.
And the way that she talks to people is just like, it was like the exact kind of food show that I didn't know I wanted. It's like all those other shows are great. Like I think it's funny that people try to make food like sexy and like dangerous, but
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm sexy and dangerous. That's why I don't wear hair now.
Sorry. I think hairnet jokes are funny. Mimi, if you had your own cooking show, what would it be called?
Mimi's Munchies, maybe.
Do you think it would attract the 420 demographic?
Probably.
Do you
I'm
think
fine with that.
Yeah.
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 I am like fully, like pretty much straight edge, but I have always really enjoyed the company of stoners, yeah. So I think I would be okay with that. I think I like chill people.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like you're like a spiritual stoner.
Like it's in there.
Yeah.
Sausage.
Thank you.
Sausage.
Thank you.
Sausage. This is a real sausage fest.
Mimi, where are these plates from?
They are from a friend of the family named Miss Terry. Thanks, Miss Terry. When we moved into this house, she just gave us a whole set of these like chicken flatware, whatever. I don't know, are plates flatware or is that just forks and knives? Anyway, I think it came with like plates, little bowls, large bowls, little like teacup things, and saucers, which like I kind of feel like a bougie person when I have a saucer. So we have to get ingredient diversity. So get like a little bit of every ingredient.
Yeah, so you're getting the first bite.
Okay, ready?
Yep, 1, 2.
That's a face of somebody who hates the food.
No,
No curiosity.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Because these noodles, I've had some really bad experiences with them where they didn't really take on any flavor at all, and I feel like you did it.
Yeah.
I'm really happy you're able to join us in this meal, Gordon.
Yeah, it's very good, Jordan. It's really good. I like love this. It's like a little bit spicy. I don't know if I'm like making that up or is there something spicy in here.
It's 100% spicy.
What's the spiciness in it?
Cumin, cayenne,
Yeah, cayenne.
a little bit.
It's the kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you the type of vegan who like likes to share about your veganism, or are you like, this is private, I don't want to talk about it?
I like talking about it just because in the circles that I'm in, I feel like people aren't informed. I don't tell people about it to try to convert them. More so just like, hey, like maybe you should consider this, just because like we've been fed a lot of bad information about what food is and like what the food you're getting actually is.
So what was your like nail on the coffin?
Oh, I just had health issues.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then once you made that choice, you like started learning more about the other reasons it was good?
Yeah, like I had kind of like dabbled in meatless diets and stuff like that over the years, and like tried to be meatless just because it's also like an environmental thing, just to have less meat, and like I'm not really a fan of factory farming because that's kind of destroying the planet. So I'm just like, yeah, like if you like meat, like that's cool, it's tasty, and like it brings you joy in life. I don't want to like take that away from people and take away culture from people, but also at the same time,
the industry
I feel like
is kind
people
of whack.
Yeah, and people would feel a lot better if they didn't eat meat. So I'm like, just try it, like because people I feel like guilt me for not wanting to eat cheese or meat, and it's like, no, I'm literally doing this to feel better. I'm just like, why would you shame somebody for trying to feel better?
Do you want me to be in pain all the time?
Yeah. Also, like, nobody tries it, so nobody really knows how they feel on it. And if they were to eat it completely and like really like balance it out and have like a little bit of everything, like a lot of people would probably like it more, but they just haven't tried it and like don't know vegan recipes because we've been manipulated by the Food Network to not know any recipes that don't have milk or meat or dairy.
I do think about that like, so I used to live with a vegan, and my sister's dairy free. So I have a lot of experience getting very creative with food, and I actually find vegan cooking way more enjoyable because I feel like there's more of a focus on flavor, because I feel like a lot of like animal-based product recipes, like the flavor's kind of in, like animal fat has like a pretty like distinct flavor that it adds to food. So you can get away with like not really doing much to it, whereas vegan cooking, you have to be very intentional about the flavor that you put in there. What's your favorite like vegan movie? You watch like documentaries or what? I mean, a specific one.
I think Game Changers. The Game Changers. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why?
Because that's the one where they basically show all the athletes. Like, who are the greatest athletes of all time, and they were all vegans. Even like the most recent examples, like there were teams that turned around their season because they went plant-based, or like Nate Diaz beat Conor McGregor, and now they're trying to make it like he used performance-enhancing drugs and stuff like that. He keeps getting negative responses when like he legit like claims he did not take anything to this day, and claims that he's all vegan. Wild. So like, there's something going on where like I feel like there's a narrative where like Conor McGregor eats steaks and stuff like that, and they're trying to make it like, oh, the steak guy is the stronger guy, but like in reality, like in the wilderness, the stronger animals and the bigger animals eat leaves.
Interesting.
And like the meat eaters are all like lean.
Yeah.
But like they don't really have
like muscle,
like mass. Yeah. Like rhinoceroses and elephants and all that stuff.
Imagine
giraffes.
If they start spinning like that, having a plant-based diet is like the modern day anabolic steroid. Like it's like they force you to eat meat if you were gonna be like a professional fighter, and then they're like,
to keep you down.
Yeah.
To be like even.
Yeah. Like this match brought to you by Longhorn Steakhouse.
I was thinking, also of. I feel like one of the more compelling movies, which like some people may think it's great, but I thought it was like a pretty decent movie. Did you see Okja?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
It's like there are moments where I expected it to be like more vegan propaganda, but I feel like they honestly did a pretty good job of like balancing the thoughts behind it. Like ultimately, it's more about like respecting animals and like being conscious about your choices because they do actually affect other living creatures, as opposed to like all of you meat eaters are demons and heartless and whatever. It did a really good job of just being like, hey, like, did you ever think about the fact that this actually affects living creatures? So
also, if you live in a cold place, it is so much easier to like hunt down a big animal and then you eat for like months and months and months off of that one big animal, as opposed to looking for plants that are underneath snow or something like that. So I think about that a lot of times, how like evolutionarily, like it made sense at a time, but like you could like get by now that we get produce like shipped in from anywhere, which is also not very great for the environment. So like maybe it's all about the local farms, and then you freeze your vegetables for the winter.
That's my mom's deal. She's like she was talking the other day about like we need to figure out how to like build a well on our property. She's always growing things. My mom's side of the family, my maternal grandmother grew up on a ranch, and so she's very at one with nature. Like she'll talk to animals and they'll talk back to her, and she has a giant flourishing garden to the extent where like one year she grew so many blueberries that she didn't have she couldn't use them all, so she sold them to one of the local markets. She was just like, I just have extra blueberries. Do you want to give me money for them? And they're like, yeah. So my mom comes from that, and so she's always trying to grow things. And her whole doomsday apocalyptic prepping is we need a seed library, we need to build a well, we need to be able to grow as many things as possible. She's been talking about like hydroponic farming.
Hell yeah.
I got really into that.
Wait, what is that?
Hydroponic farming is when you grow things in water.
Okay.
It's like it doesn't require soil at all. And they can be like, you know, like they can be stored differently because of that too. So if you have like the right lights over them, you can stack it, or like I don't know how many people really get into it, but you can buy like a whole shelf.
The people who get into it are people who grow marijuana.
Yeah.
Because like,
that's
where
my
else do you
It's a
like
really
grow and
easy
mass
thing.
something in your basement?
But
In secret.
Yeah, in secret.
Yeah.
Well,
Because most people just grow it in a greenhouse or something.
Right.
there's a brand called Bowery, I think, that has, it's just a giant warehouse in Kearney, New Jersey, and it's just it's a hydroponic farm. It's just inside.
How far away is that?
Kearney's like, I would say it's like an hour from here. Or it's probably pretty close to you guys.
I want to visit that.
Yeah, it's really cool. But they
Why are you
mostly
shaking your head?
they mostly grow lettuce right now, like different types of greens. I'm sure they could grow other stuff, but what was really cool is hearing them talk about like the flavor profiles of the different greens that they grow. Like hydroponic farming, you can actually do a lot more with flavor. Like you're not as dependent on the nutrients of the soil to give your vegetable its identity. So you can it actually tastes different than soil grown
Vegetable identity.
vegetables. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's really, so we bought my mom this little, they have these things called Click and Grow, and you can get ones that do like 9 plants at a time, but we just got her the one that does 3, and it's basically like a K-cup with a seed in it, and you stick it in, and it has like little UV lights over it, and there's water underneath it, and so you just like put it in, and it'll self water, and it turns on the light automatically to give it the right amount of light. So it just like sits on her counter and grows different plants all year round. It's really cool.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mimi.
Yeah.
This has been the first episode of The Leftover Chef. Thanks for watching.
As I said before, this plant, this is now right after we finished eating, and it is fully back to life. So yeah, like 20 minutes to come back from total droopage.